Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to warmly welcome you during the second panel of today's conference. So in the second panel, we will be discussing the regional cooperation of Czechia and Poland, as well as multilateral relations in the region. Today's conference is a part of the project Intensifying Polish-Czech Cooperation on the Foreign Policy Priorities of Both Countries in 2023, and the project aims to create a substantive basis for intensifying Polish-Czech cooperations in the field of foreign policy priorities of both countries. So this public task was financed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland within the grant competition Polish-Czech Forum. Right now, I would like to invite speakers of the second panel, and at first I will invite them to take seats, and then I will shortly introduce all speakers. So, I would like to warmly invite Ms. Katarzyna Obłonkowska. I would like to also warmly invite Mr. Karel Schall and also Mr. Marcin Kacperek. Please take your seats. So, especially for our online audience, which I also warmly welcome during our conference, I would like to sketch also the structure of each panel, but it will happen after the short introduction. So, Ms. Katarzyna Obłonkowska, member of the program board of the INE, PhD in social sciences in the discipline of political science and administration, on Warsaw School of Economics and sociologist of University of Warsaw. Expert in public policy and social research with particular expertise in the areas of cultural heritage, tourism, identity, trust, and socio-economic development. Next speaker is Mr. Karel Schall, PhD, external consultant in the Institute of Politics and Society, a political researcher specializing in election system. His work focused on the collapse of traditional ideologic systems, as well as on the freedom of speech, the future of European integration, and Czech domestic politics. And Mr. Marcin Kacperek, master degree in international relations at the Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań, scholar of the Society for Academic and Cultural Exchange in Central and Eastern Europe, at the Humboldt University of Berlin in 2011. Graduate of the diplomatic training at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Poland and career diplomat since 2014. Currently the head of unit for the Three Seas Initiative and Connectivity. In 2018, delegate of Poland to the COEST Working Party of the Council of the European Union. Between 2019 and 2023, Policy Officer of Connectivity and Global Gateway at the European External Action Service. Please welcome our guest. So, as I mentioned before, I would like to shortly sketch the structure of this panel, and it is as follows. So, after the introduction, I will give circa 3-4 minutes for each panelist to shortly speak about the most important things concerning the regional cooperation of Czechia and Poland, and as well multilateral relations in the region. And then we will proceed to the part of questions asked by the moderator. And after 4 questions addressed to each of panelists, we will sum up this panel and allow our audience to ask questions to our prelegents. So at first I would like to give voice to Ms. Katarzyna Obłonkowska. Please proceed.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to be here with you. As opening speech, I prepared some presentation for you, so if you can start with it. This, in my opinion, the most important thing for us. So energy mix in Central and Eastern Europe as a key challenge. And I will tell a few words about public opinion research in Poland. So energy transition is one of the greatest challenges facing the Polish state, economy and society over the next 30 years. My presentation will address values important in the green transition, reality of volumes and structure of energy generation in 2022 in Czech Republic, Germany, Poland, Slovakia and Sweden, and opinions of Polish society regarding the energy mix in the future of Poland. Okay, thank you. We need to cooperate. Thank you very much. So, values are the most important part of public policy, more important than efficiency, because the state should act in the public interest, for the public good, and so that people can have a good, happy and creative life. As you can see on the slide, in the triangle of the main values of the energy transition, there are security, affordability and sustainable development. You can ask why? Because energy security means having stable, reliable and uninterrupted access to energy sources, cheap enough that people can afford to pay for the energy, which is provided in a way that ensures that meeting the needs of today's generation does not reduce the chances of meeting the needs of future generations. I would like, in the process of energy transition, we need to treat humans as a value no less valuable than the environment. The green transition has a very human dimension in terms of the fear of rising energy prices. Last year, in the Institute of Finance, in my research team, we conducted research on people's concerns about the coming winter and rising energy prices. And we found that at the turn of October and November 2022, rising energy prices filled Poles with fear. 68% of Polish adult population indicated that they experienced an increase in energy costs in their households. 67% of the population expressed fear of price rises. Only 18% of Poles were not afraid of it. For 62% of Poles, the increase in energy costs put a heavy burden on their household budget. The green transition has a very human dimension also in the fear of cost and uncertainty about providing heat. On the eve of last winter, 58% of Polish population feel feared, resulting from uncertainty about the cost of heating in their households in the coming winter. 32% of population feel fear resulting from uncertainty about providing heat in their households. 38% of the population was not afraid of this possibility. So, as I said, energy transition is one of the greatest challenges facing the Polish state, economy and society. That means government, enterprises and people. I would like to take a quick look at volumes and structure of electricity generation in 2022 in Czech Republic, Germany, Poland, Slovakia and Sweden. And what we can see the differences in volumes and in sources of energy between countries. The highest volume is in Germany, next is in Poland and Sweden, then in Czech Republic and Slovakia. We can also see important differences in energy mixes between countries. At the moment, Germany produces the highest volume of energy from brown and hard coal among the 6 countries. Next is Poland. Lignite or brown coal is very important also for Czech Republic. Nuclear power plants are very important for Czech Republic and for Sweden, for Slovakia. It was in 2022 also important for Germany. Poland doesn't have nuclear power plants, but we plan to build them, and I hope that we will build them because it's very important for Polish energy transition. 1 month ago, last September, me and Dr. Artur Bartoszewicz carried out research of Polish society opinion about the green transition. One of our questions was about expectations in the field of Polish energy mix in 2035 and 2050. As you can see on the graph, Poland's average mix expected by Poles in 2035 is constructed as follows. 20% or maybe 20% energy should come from coal and lignite, 17% should come from gas, 33% should come from renewable energy sources, 17% should come from nuclear power plants, 8% from other sources, and 4% from energy import. In 2050, it should look like 14% from coal and lignite, 13% from gas, 39% from renewable energy sources, 22% from nuclear power plants, 8% from other sources, and 3% from energy import. And what you can see, reality in 2022 is really different from what we expect in the end, in the 2033 and 2050. And we ask also respondents about their opinions on the deadline for Poland to achieve climate neutrality. And in the opinion of 27% of Polish citizens, Poland should achieve climate neutrality as soon as possible, before 2050. In the opinion of 15% of Polish society, we should achieve it until 2050. In the opinion of 33% of our citizens, Poland should achieve climate neutrality in its own pace, even if it means that we will achieve it after 2050. And for 12% of Polish society, it is hard to say. And to sum up, as I said, values are the most important for public policy. The most important values of the green transition are security, affordability, and sustainable development. Humans are valuable, no less valuable than the environment. Energy transition is one of the greatest challenges facing the Polish state, economy, and society. And Poland needs to change almost 75% of its energy, so it's really huge task for us. Czech Republic, what I know about Czech Republic, key goals include increasing the capacity of nuclear power plants, reducing energy consumption, and improving the energy intensity of the economy. Poland needs good neighborly relations in the process of green transition. Poland needs European understanding of challenge it faced. Neighborhood policy should be based on reciprocity, not on naivety, because reciprocity generates wealth, naivety does not. We know that reciprocity is a situation in which two people or countries provide the same help, advantages, and loyalty to each other. But what about reciprocity when the one partner is taking advantage to the other, acting against, or being disloyal? So there are a lot of questions, and this is what I prepared as for opening speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Obłokowska. And right now I would like to give the floor for Mr. Karel Szal.
Thank you for the invitation into Warsaw, pre-election Warsaw, when I was going from the airport to the hotel yesterday. I was aware about campaigning because I'm campaigning expert and election expert, and I was aware that I saw only basically one poster of some candidate, independent candidate to Senate, through whole road from the airport to my hotel. And I ask why, because in Czech Republic right now every corner will be filled with propaganda and posters from other parties to catch some voters, from last voters on the last time, to give some few points in elections. And I ask myself why. Maybe everything is set. Maybe Polish people didn't like the posters on the walls. Maybe that's true. Or the campaign is done and everybody is looking for the results. But especially this election will affect the cooperation in whole region, Central European region, for next 4 years. Because as we heard in previous panel, the today's relations between Poland and Czech Republic is the best in last 20 years. Yeah, that's caused because the leading force of Czech government, which is Civic Democratic Party, ODS abbreviation, is very closely tied to PiS party, because they are sitting in in European Parliament, in the same European party, those reformists, and there are interconnections from the 90s. So especially Prime Minister and his advisors are very pro-Polish right now. But after election, maybe some changes will be there in Czech and Polish relations, because we don't know who will be the fourth guy into the gang. Yeah, we have now Fiala as the Czech Prime Minister, Fico as the Slovakian Prime Minister, Orbán as the Hungarian Prime Minister, and we will see what results tell us on the Sunday. So I can tell you that the Czech-Polish relations are heavily based on domestic policy and the results of election. That's a reason, because the situations can change very quickly. For example, in Czech Republic, there will be elections in 2 years. We are in the midterm or something like that, and contemporary government is highly unfavorable. Highly, even during the COVID years, the numbers of favorable government was higher than now. Yeah, only 18% of Czech respondents are favorable for today's government. And 2 years we can be witnesses or something like a shift in Czech-Polish relations. Don't shoot the messenger, because the ANO party can win the next election. And as we know that the position of ANO party, and especially Mr. Babiš, is quite different from the position of Civic Democracy and Mr. Fiala. So this is my start, and I would like to point out that everything depends on the election. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And right now, Mr. Martin Kacperek.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here and to elaborate a bit more on the regional cooperation between Czechia and Poland in the region. And actually, I'm super happy, because the interventions of the two previous speakers provided a great background for my intervention. So thank you very much, and I can assure you it wasn't, let's say, prepared in advance. So it's a purely spontaneous setting. So perhaps I would like to touch upon the intervention of Mr. Karel and about the Polish-Czech bilateral relations. I'm not an expert on that, but in any case, these relations, as we have seen over the last years, have been subject to political movements, shifts in both countries, and the optimal solution would be to make our bilateral relations to a larger extent independent on these changes. And I believe that the regional cooperation could be a factor here, because I do believe this duo, this tandem, the Polish-Czech one, could really have an impact on the way the regional cooperation is carried out, and the way the European Union is, so to speak, in which way it evolves. Let me please briefly touch on these issues. As Mr. Alex introduced myself, I'm the head of unit for the 3Cs initiative at the Polish Foreign Ministry. And for this reason, I will start with the Visegrad Group, although it's not part of my portfolio, but I did consult my colleagues in charge. But here I speak rather freely on my personal, in my personal capacity. So I do believe that the 3C, the V4 format, despite the current challenges, is a stable format that has had already 30 years of track record. And I believe it will survive the contemporary changes or challenges, because it's a value in itself in our region that still lacks durable, stable institutions. And I think it's an asset that we should all appreciate and take care of to make sure that it survives and it thrives and develops in the future. When it comes to the 3Cs initiative, it's a bit younger initiative. It's less structured, less elaborate, I would say. But I do see synergies between the two of them. It's not that this format, I mean V4 format and 3Cs are mutually exclusive. On the contrary, I believe that there are some synergies. Same for the Sławków triangle, same for the Krajowa group. There are different constellations in the region, and they can freely exist and coexist peacefully. But at the same time, the 3Cs initiative is the broadest platform in the region. There is no other that comprises all the countries in the region, and by the way, it is growing because Greece just joined it at the last 3C summit in Bucharest. So there is still a potential for growth, as so to speak, and we need such a platform in the region. Also, in terms of I wouldn't like to dwell on the need to cooperate on development of the north-south infrastructure. I think it's self-explanatory. Just today, I had a quick exchange with Mr. Alex about the bottlenecks on the Polish-Czech border when it comes to railway connection, etc. We all know it in this group, so I don't want to spend more time discussing this. But it's a great value in itself, because I've been following developments in the region for almost 20 years, and this north-south axis has always been super important to me. But we really lacked a platform where we could discuss and think of ourselves, because we were all so focused on rejoining the West that we forgot about one another. And we are the fastest growing region in the EU, and because of lack of the infrastructure, we are not able to sufficiently benefit from our own respective economic growth. There is still an economic potential to be unlocked in the region thanks to development of infrastructure. But here I would like to stop. So one dimension is cooperation at the regional level, but the other dimension is the EU level, where, as we can clearly see, our region is underrepresented. Sometimes is treated according to some double standards. But in any case, it's extremely difficult, especially when it comes to sectoral policies, to first build coalitions that can effectively promote our interests, or secondly, build minority, blocking minority to defend if there is a need. And here, neither Visegrad Group, nor Sławków Triangle, nor Krajowa Group would have enough power to create enough coalitions. So to me, and we look at it that way in the ministry, and we are also trying to convince our partners in the 3Cs that that's the way to go, to use the 3Cs also as a platform to promote our joint interest, build coalitions at the EU level, especially in terms of sectoral policies, where we vote with qualified majority, and we have the so-called double a majority voting system where after Brexit it's practically impossible to put it bluntly, to provide a counterweight to Germany and France, who in turn are able to push through the system almost everything that they need, while just convincing a few member states. So I think that's the way to go, and the challenges that also Ms. Katarzyna has just outlined when it comes to the energy transition. I think that's the most vital factor, because it's felt by the societies. It's not an abstract concept, but because everyone sees the rise in energy prices as it was showcased in the presentation, and this is something that is tangible, and this is something that can generate a political need that could be harnessed by the politicians, by the region as well, to provide a counterweight also when it comes to technologies that are used in terms of the energy transition. Let's just to mention the role of gas in the transition period. Secondly, the role of nuclear energy, and here we are natural allies. And even if we looked at the energy mixes of the two countries, if we imagined that Poland had the nuclear power plant already now, we would have almost the same energy mix. So, and in this I mean, the positive attitude towards the nuclear energy is shared among almost all 3Cs member states. So it's another platform to promote the role of the nuclear, and also when it comes to the pace of transition, because we have a feeling, as we all know, that our partners in the West not always understand the conditions and the historic, let's say, burden of that affects the pace of our transition. So I will stop here. Sorry for perhaps exceeding the time, but yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch on all the points that were raised. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all answers. And right now, after the speeches, I would like to deliver a short summary. So starting with the speech and presentation of Ms. Katarzyna Obłonkowska, we can say that within the issue of regional cooperation of Czechia and Poland, but also in the multilateral relations in the region, it is very important to find ways of diversification of sources of energy. And I guess it would be one of the most important basis for further development of cooperation and for strengthening the relations, not only in the 3Cs initiative itself that was launched to provide such project, but also in smaller, in terms of geographic size, platforms of regional cooperation like V4. I guess we should do more in different platforms of cooperation to reach those goals. And of course, very interesting and very important insight of Mr. Karel Schall, and the results of election will affect the regional cooperation. Of course, they will, but there is a big question how we will try to sustain the one of the best times for our bilateral cooperations in terms if some kind of governmental changes would disrupt the situation. That is the big question in here. And of course, after the speech of Mr. Martin Kacperek, we can say that there is a big problem for the whole regional cooperation, because we would like to cooperate and be one voice in the European Union, and to balance the double majority voting system resulting in the latitude, the dominance of the German-French duo in terms of decision-making process in the European Union. So right now I would like to ask the first question, and it is relating to the Polish and Czech engagement within the Visegrad group, so within the V4 group. I would like to ask you about your view, your scope of current situation in V4 group, and some kind of advices for the future cooperation in this regional forum of cooperation, regional platform for cooperation of 4 states. And of course, a lot of important and interesting things were said in the previous panel, but right now we will try to tidy it up with the second. And at first, I would like to ask Mr. Karl, please.
I can tell you how people from Western Europe see the V4 cooperation is through 3 troublemakers and one who is quite good, but he is too friendly to troublemakers. This is Mr. Fiala, Czech Prime Minister. But now, what happened in last month in V4? There was election in Slovakia. Robert Fico will be the Prime Minister. It's almost happening right now. So we have V4 has the reputation of guys who wants to change the whole European Union, and they are holding together to do it. In Czech Republic right now, the V4 cooperation is favorable by a governmental party, especially civic democracy, and the parties from opposition, for example, ANO Party, and the party named the Direct Democracy Party. So we cannot oversee that in Czech government, especially the chairwoman of the Chamber of Deputies of Czech Parliament, Mrs. Pekarová Adamová, is highly anti-V4 cooperation oriented. She is chairwoman of one coalition partner in today's government, and we cannot oversee to that Pirates, which is part of government too, and they hold the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, are against Hungary, even the Poland in many ways. I can tell that the Russo-Ukrainian war covers everything, every factor of our disagreements between Poland and Czech Republic, and I'm glad that the Czech and even Polish politicians are in the same ship, saying that Russian imperialism in Ukraine must be defeated. Yeah, that's good. That's a good reason. But we cannot oversee that some forces in Czech Republic are against cooperation in V4, especially Pirates, because it's composed by those bad guys. For example, the wife of the chairman of Pirate Party is heavily influenced in movement to promote women's rights in Poland, and is highly critical to today's government because of abortion policy. And this state in Czech Republic is differing the debate. The new president, Petr Pavel, also is concerning about the way which V4 goes, and he promoting other partners in the EU to be friend with. But I have one question: which partners? Who will cooperate with us to promote our goals in EU? I think we haven't other this good and shaped cooperation within EU right now, and other partners are not convinced to cooperate with us in that level, which is already is in V4 initiative. I think this is the position in Czech Republic, and everything is heavily influenced by their positions toward Poland and Hungary, and especially their governments. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the answer. Right now, I would like to give floor to Ms. Katarzyna Obonkowska, please.
Thank you very much. Visegrad Group was very important in the past. In 90s for Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary and Slovakia, it was the platform of common goals. We have the same goals like democratization, European integration, joining to NATO, and we achieved it together. And after this time, I think that we lost this common goals. But from the last 1 year, I think that there is better relations between our nations, Poland and Czech. But we see also in the Visegrad Group the problem with contemporary political differences. And Visegrad Group is, I can say, frozen because of Hungarian policy. But for Poland, it is a very important platform of cooperation. And I hope that for Czech, you said that perhaps there are many problems with it. I know that sometimes in Czech there are some opinions that this is a bit toxic group. So we've got a lot to do with stereotype, with these political differences, to create good neighborly relations. I think that Visegrad Group, because it is more than 30 years of cooperation, it is a very important platform. And in the future, we shouldn't think about contemporary political differences, but we should focus on the common future, because we live in the one place in the earth. So we've got a lot of common issues. And we should care about the Visegrad Group, even if Hungary now, their policy is not accepted in many countries. But we need to have platform to talk, to be close, because we've got a common future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask Mr. Marcin Kacperek.
Thank you very much. I would like to divide this part of my intervention into two parts. In the first one, I would like to perhaps somewhat provocatively portray 3Cs as a chance for the Visegrad Group, because it was described as a group of spoilers, sometimes toxic one, etc. I think the advantage of the 3Cs is that it's a broader platform. And you have different actors here with different foreign policy profiles, which allows for more flexibility. And at the same time, the V4 is an inner circle, is the subset of the 3Cs. So as I previously mentioned, one does not contradict the other. And of course, it is not that you can realistically expect that we will always be able to find a consensus among the 13 member states of the EU. But it can be a platform where we gather, from which we gather as much support as possible, be it V4, be it whoever else, to be able to promote interest. So I think, in the terms of a hopefully temporary crisis of the V4, 3Cs could fill the gap, could help also put some fresh air into the regional cooperation. And also, when it comes to the divergence of views or alignment of interests in the region, I think that the biggest value of the 3Cs is that it's rather a geo-economic initiative, not that very much geopolitical or political as such, and it's focused on sectoral cooperation. And regardless of who will be ruling in Poland after this weekend's election. You know, as we can see at with the example of the nuclear energy, there is a consensus. Even the Polish Green Party, no, perhaps not Green Party, but the left, is supporting nuclear energy as something that is extraordinary in the Western Europe. So I think in terms of sectoral policies, we will still more or less remain the same regardless of the results of the elections, which means that at the EU level we will still be able to promote the same interests. And I think when it comes to the attractivity of any given multilateral foreign policy format, the main factor that attracts countries, that attracts their attention and make initiative interesting one, is the ability to promote interests. And if we managed to build a few examples of successful coalitions, we will all see a point in further advancing cooperation within the 3Cs. And in a flexible way, as I said, it's not always that we have to have all 13 member states on board. And let's not forget that we also have countries in the Western Europe who are aligned with us in some sectoral policies. So I think that would be an answer, because tensions are obvious. See the Franco-German relation. There are many tensions there, but nevertheless, this cooperation format has been effective for more than 60 years now, because it is able to push things forward and to promote the national interest of both Germany and France to an acceptable level. And that's my belief that the 3Cs could really prove effective in pursuing our interests and make it effective enough and attractive enough for political parties in all 3Cs countries to be kept up.
Thank you very much for the answer. And to provide a short summary, we should start with some challenges. As our speakers said, sometimes the Visegrad Group is identified as a troublemaker in the European Union, and also sometimes there is some kind of toxic relations. There are some kind of toxic relations inside this group, but nevertheless, in the past, before was very successful. So, in terms of the political cooperation, despite the fact that there is a temporary crisis, at least a temporary crisis right now in the Visegrad Group, we should achieve the ability of promoting our own interests, not only in the region, but in the whole Europe. Because when we are divided, our voices are not so strong, but together we can do more. One of the best examples is the fact that together the V4 Group is one of the biggest markets, for example, for Germany. So if we've got the common view of our interests, we can do more and better. So we should focus on the common future, because some challenges in the region are giving us the opportunity to cooperate even better. And of course, we can start with the successful culture base of the cooperation and V4 Group, but we should do more in terms of economy and in terms of politics, as well as, I guess, the V4 Group should work also as a platform of cooperation in terms of military. So right now I would like to go to the second part of the questions, and we will be speaking about the bilateral and multilateral cooperation of Poland and Czechia in the 3Cs initiative. A lot of what was said before is connecting us to the topic of the 3Cs initiative, especially the challenges for the infrastructure development. But right now I would like to ask about the bilateral relations potential to use within the 3Cs initiative, what we should do together to strengthen the initiative, and what Poland and Czechia together should do to invite other countries which are not so active in the regional cooperation of the three Cs, maybe to do a little bit more in the common interest. And for now, I would like to start with Mr. Marcin Kacperek.
Thank you very much, and sorry for focusing so much on the three Cs in the previous part, but I still have a few things to say on the three Cs itself. When it comes to the Polish-Czech relations, and in Poland, three Cs it reverberates broadly in the public discourse. So there is enough traction here, and which puts on our shoulders not a burden, but responsibility to also as a founding father of the three Cs, puts on our shoulders the responsibility to propose some new ideas, and I believe together with our Czech colleagues we could do a lot, also drawing on the experiences from the V4 cooperation. But when it comes to Czechia and the three Cs, we have seen a positive positive developments over the last year. The adoption of the program of the Czech participation in the three Cs by the current government, the appointment of Mr. Marian as a national coordinator, the Undersecretary of State at the Czech Foreign Ministry, in charge of the three Cs. It's a positive development, and just to share with you some internal insight beforehand, the coordination role in Czechia for the three Cs was given to the Ministry of Infrastructure, which clearly showed that from the very beginning the idea was not entirely clear, because the MFAs must be the coordinators in this process, because it touches upon so many sectoral policies that one sectoral ministry is not basically able to coordinate on it effectively, and which positively surprised me also in terms of the EU. In terms of cooperation at the EU level, the coordination unit in charge of three Cs is the same one who is in charge of the Coreper 1, who deals with all the sectoral EU policies, and clearly shows the understanding of the added value of the three Cs at the EU level. So, but I think there's still some work to be done between us and our joint engagement. I think we can quite frankly speak here that the three least engaged countries in the three Cs are those of the Sławków Triangle, which is Czechia, Slovakia, and Austria. So I still believe there is some gap to fill here. Now, when it comes to drawing on the positive examples of the V4, our idea, as said, V4 is already well structured. Three Cs is rather is a loose cooperation format. So we are thinking of proposing a rotatory presidency, as it is the case with the V4, which begins and ends at a concrete time, because now it's the informal presidency or chairmanship is taken over by a country that volunteered to organize the next summit, but it is not well structured. There's no program of any given chairmanship, and what we have in the V4 cooperation, each presidency outlines its program, it shares it for comments with counterparts in the V4 countries. So I think that could help structure the cooperation, which is uneven, because when it comes to three Cs, we see the rise of interest and activities around the summit and the business forum, but then it collapses. Then there is a gap. Nothing is happening, and then there are some ups and downs. And only when the next summit is organized, there is again a growth of interest and of events, etc. While at the same time, in the meantime, between the summits, many events are taking place. Sometimes branded under 3C, sometimes not. So we are also working with colleagues to create a calendar of events to be put online on the website, so that everyone can see what's happening there in the 3Cs. Same for the priority projects list of projects, which is online, but it needs to be updated after each summit. We would also like to provide more information, some infographics, some video to also do some publicity around these projects. And also, I worked in the EU, and we were also dealing with packaging and branding different projects funded by the EU. And we have always created a huge communication splash, not necessarily around projects that have that much added value, but nevertheless, we wanted to communicate them. And I was a bit surprised when I attended the Bucharest summit this year that each 3Cs member states submitted proposals, including Poland, for the new priority projects, and no one even mentioned it. There was no publicity. I was expecting a huge videos, I don't know, splash and everything. There was nothing about it. And then people are asking, what are the new projects? What's happening there? And no one sees it. So there's still a lot of work to be done on the communication front, the website and etc. Also, there is the never-ending discussion about the secretariat. V4 does not have any secretariat. It works quite well administratively, and I think that's the way to go, because each presidency to take over the chairmanship can be in charge of the administrative matters. And if we create an institution that is somewhere, then it usually first we will quarrel where where it will be headquartered, who will be the secretary general, and how much they will earn, and etc. etc. And it will kill the political dynamics. And also my personal experience with I was in charge of the Eastern Partnership, and as you may know, there are two dimensions of the EU neighborhood policy: the Eastern one, the Eastern Partnership, and the Southern one. And with the Eastern one being much more successful than the Southern one, and whenever we talked to our colleagues in the Southern neighborhood, they were saying, "Oh, we envy you so much that you don't have any secretariat, because in our case we have a secretariat, and the biggest, the half of the discussion is devoted to some administrative stuff, and we cannot discuss politics." And I wouldn't like 3Cs to follow the same way. I think we are better off without a secretariat, and with presidencies being more formalized, we could secure the administrative level. We could take care of it well. Yeah. So I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And right now, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Kalashal.
I'm sorry to be pessimist guy here, but there's a few points about bilateral cooperation between Czech and Poland towards the 3Cs initiative. For example, in last 14 I was attending the conference about 3Cs in Czech Republic in Prague, which was held by Charles University. Yeah, maybe next time. And I can tell you that even in expert area, there are not many people who knows the 3Cs initiative in Czech Republic. And one guy, after 3 hours of talking and opportunities and stuff like that, he stood up and he said, it's quite interesting. Can we, like countries from 3Cs initiative, attack Russia? I was stunned, but it wasn't that bad idea, not attacking Russia, but we can cope, because the discussion goes and goes and goes, and we realized that the cooperation between Czech and Polish side can be held on the military, in the military area, supporting our military industrial complex, and cooperation between Czech party and Polish party, because how you reach the awareness for 3Cs initiative. I can tell you, we had the survey in Czech Republic, and only 10% of respondents know the 3Cs initiative. And you must have some good, you must be the leader, or you must show to the people what 3Cs initiative is and what is the result. Results is the most important thing about 3Cs initiative. When, for example, some Czech-Polish industrial complex will build big factory for weapons or something, it will be success. It will be success for Czech-Polish cooperation. But we can mention that it was caused because of 3Cs initiative cooperation or something like that. Because And we are back to the transportation and interconnection between Czech Republic and Poland. When we haven't the connection, we cannot build something else. For example, Poland opened the highway from Wrocław to Czech border, and Czech politicians was surprised. They didn't invite us for opening. They didn't know what's happening. I told them, do you know why they don't invite you? Because they invest millions and millions of euros. EU didn't nothing. Because we have some regional cooperation, because we have bright future plans, but we didn't nothing. And this is the reason we need to be good example of cooperation for other countries, because when the Czech and Polish side will cooperate in some way, for example, both of projects in Three Seas initiative are about connection with Poland in Czech Republic. Yeah? It's about this high-speed train and the interconnection between gas systems, Stork 2. This is only two projects, and both are connected to Poland. So I tell you, we must strengthen our cooperation. We must show that the cooperation will bring some fruits and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. And right now, I would like to ask the same question to Ms. Katarzyna Błąkowska.
Thank you. The Three Seas initiative is at the very beginning of its development, but I think it is a good platform for our region of Europe, because we've got a lot of common interests. As you said, the infrastructure, reindustrialization for green transition, so it could be a lot of new working places in Poland and Czech Republic. But at first, I think the most important is awareness of common interests, because this is a new project. Maybe it has a few years, but for societies, it's a new project. There is no big awareness of it. So, as Mr. Marcin said, the communication with societies should be more intensive. And about the secretariat, I think that very important for any institution is institutional memory. So I understand the thinking that we shouldn't spend a lot of money for institution, but some money needs to be spent because of the institutional memory. So I recommend some secretary even. But of course, we know that societies don't like spending a lot of money for administration. What else? What is very important for Three Seas initiative? So energy security, military security, military strength for peace, because we know that Poland now spend a lot of money for army, but I think we do it because we want peace, not war. And because the good future of our nations need peace. What else about the future? So there is a lot of work to be done, but I believe in this initiative. I believe in every political platform for states in seeking cooperation, dialogue, economic growth. So I'm very for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to sum up, I would like to start with the phrase that Ms. Katarzyna Błąkowska said, that the Three Seas initiative, it is on the very beginning of this development, and the positive thing is we have a lot of common interests, and I totally agree. There were a lot of things done to start, to launch the cooperation, to tighten up the regional cooperation, but still it is a lot to do to for sure, for example, to assure the proper communication, and the infrastructure topic will be still present here, I guess. So, which is important, in my opinion, after the Bucharest summits, there were big plans for the further development of the 3Cs initiative, but there was no true media follow-up with this. And for example, those data provided by Mr. Karel Schall that only 10% of Czech citizens recognize the 3Cs initiative as, or maybe less, as existing a platform of cooperation in the region, the biggest one in the region, and which is creating the region, we can say. It is worrying us because we should spread the information and deliver the communication on the way Mr. Karel indicated. So on the base of possible results and on what we have done to be closer to those aims. So, of course, there is an issue of the leadership of 3Cs initiative, and many countries, and of course the Czech Republic too, is seeking for Poland to play the role of the leader. And not because this is the biggest country in many factors in the region, but because it also was one of two countries that launched this initiative. And we should be aware of the fact that a lot of things can be done without raising the suspicious attitude of some countries that we were trying to, as Poland, we were trying to dominate the 3Cs initiative, which was not clearly constructed to fulfill such aim. And the never-ending story of the Secretariat for the 3Cs initiative, I very like the approach of Mr. Marcin Kacperek, but of course we all know works of Weber and the classic bureaucracy theory, which is, I think, also a part of cultural heritage of this region. So we need to find out a way to stop this, but I think that one of possible ways to avoid bureaucracy inside the 3Cs initiative would be based on creating a space for think tanks, for expert organization, for a non-governmental organization to create a trust or to create a regional cooperation net to fulfill the mission and the activities of such secretariat. Because the government secretariat, of course, will be after in every presidency will be led by the administration of a given country. So we know that it cannot be so well adopted by other countries. But if we will work together on the think tank base or other organization, non-governmental organization, I guess we will provide something that is more resilient to the political changes, also Mr. Karel said. So, and what is important in the issue of this conference, bilateral cooperation between Czech and Poland in terms of 3Cs initiative is maybe not working as well as it could be and should be, but we together should show to the whole initiative how to run very successful projects and to be a source of good practices. Is there a need for you to speak right now, Mr. Marcin Kacperek, because you were trying? No, not really?
I would like to give some space for...
Okay, so maybe in the sum up we will take this part and let's go to the alternative regional platforms of Polish-Czech cooperation. If in your scope there are some possible ways to cooperate in different platforms, or maybe creating a platform if it's needed, or maybe just focus on those already existed, and in which direction should we cooperate in those alternative regional platforms? And I will give the floor maybe right now to Mr. Karel Schall.
I think we should fix already things what already was done, and not bringing new initiative in our bilateral relations, but we should already, because cooperation who will prevail the turmoils after election is very hard, because this that means that it's something institutional. It's have some body, some people who's working in some organization who will hold the ideas and will do PR for the media, stuff like that. But when we look into V4 in cooperation or Free Seas initiative, there is no such institution or organizational scheme which will prevail this changing of governments, etc.
Thank you very much. And right now I'll give the floor to Mr. Kacperek.
Thank you very much. So honestly speaking, I don't see any other constellation or organization where Poland and Czechia could work together. I think we have already enough of them, and we should first and foremost focus on putting flesh on the bones, as you say, to make this to properly use the existing cooperation platform. I think we are quite well equipped for the moment. We have the format of bilateral government consultations taking place regularly. The last ones in spring this year, if I recall well. There is the Visegrad Group and 3 Seas and the EU as such. So there is also B9 when it comes to military cooperation. So I think we have already plenty of them. So as said, the point should be to make the best use of this existing platforms. And perhaps just briefly, when it comes to the secretariat, there are some innovative ways of holding it, like the Estonians. You can put it on cloud. In the EU, you also have rotatory presidency, and it's possible. Of course, it has its benefits and downsides, but still it's able to work. But to be seen, to be discussed. We will always need a consensus in the 3 Seas, and there is no consensus for the moment on this issue. So I think we could first start with the presidency, see how it works, and if there is a need to fix something, we can always react flexibly. So on this particular point, I think no other format needed. Let's focus as much as we can, and as said, if we are able to generate enough, let's say, political agency, as you say, and so that both countries see their national interest is better, let's say, served in this bilateral or multilateral format, it will survive, and there will be no questions asked about the added value of this format. And perhaps a word on the social aspect. I couldn't agree more with the need to create a platform for the civil society to catch up together. As you may recall, in Sofia, for example, there was a civil society, 3 Seas Civil Society Forum, and it should be a regular event on the sidelines of each summit. I've for many years I was focused on the Polish-German relations, and when I was young, I have taken place in so many Polish-German exchanges of the youth, and etc., which bear fruits. But we also see how much Germany invested in Poland in developing different kinds of foundations, etc., and how many people took part in it. We should do the same in the 3 Seas, so that we know each other when we are young people, because it's a completely different relation if it's established when you're young, and then you meet over 20 years later, and you're still friends. So yeah, that's definitely the way to go. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you very much, and right now it is time for Ms. Katarzyna Błąkowska to speak.
Thank you. I agree that we should develop what we have. And we've got more even, because very important are intergovernmental consultations, which we've got between Poland and Czech, but also cooperation between local governments, civil society cooperation, perhaps we should develop more cultural cooperation and create maybe some more festivals or something like this, that we could know each other more. We could know more our culture. A very good point is this youth cooperation is really important thing. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. So we all agree that there is no need to develop any other platforms that are more than those are already existing in the region, and we should focus on strengthening potential of the Visegrad Group and the Three Seas Initiative to reach those common interests. And of course, after fixing some problems and overcoming those challenges deriving from the changes of governments, and it is really impacting the potential of non-governmental organizations, both governmental organizations, to sustain one line of development of the Three Seas Initiative. And I guess there is a space and a need for a good managed platform for the civil society to seek for each other in the region, to understand each other better, and to make non-governmental projects that will really connect us in many ways. Of course, as we speak, the steady topic here is the infrastructure that should be also done to connect us more and better. And so I guess there is also a consensus here that we don't need any other special organization to deal only with the infrastructure, because we've got the Three Seas Initiative that is dealing with the topic. Okay, so the last question here is, what are the common interests, but what are the most important disputes in the Central, Eastern or Central Europe region? Of course, divided into possibilities of defining the region, because there are different approaches. So if you could indicate 1 to maximum 3 most important common interests, both for the Visegrad Group and Three Seas Initiative, and 1, maybe 2 most important risks, disputes or problems with the cooperation. So maybe I will give floor right now to Mr. Marcin Kacperek.
Yeah, so starting starting with the joint interests, I think there are many of them, but perhaps we sometimes are not aware that they are joint interests. I would start with Ukraine and the Russian aggression against Ukraine. It's clear that it's a factor that unites us, and of course with slight differences across the region, we have more or less the same point of view on that. And also the transatlantic factor in most of the countries in the region, we are rather pro-Atlantic. So that's another factor that is uniting us. And let's remember that the U.S. is a open supporter of the Three Seas. So yeah, yet another factor that brings us together. And I also personally hope that the war in Ukraine was an eye opener for many in our region, because perhaps in Poland we have always been rather sensitive about these risks, but it has not always been the case in other countries. And now we could clearly see who is who and who acts who in the time of crisis. So I could see this shift in the mindset, which I think brings us closer to us, to Poland, to the Baltic states, to Romania in this case. So that's one factor. Of course, the reconstruction of Ukraine, where we have a clear interest as countries, bordering in a few cases Ukraine directly. And I can also confess that the reconstruction of Ukraine was one of the was very much was discussed at length at the 3C summit in Bucharest and the business forum. And linked to that, another uniting factor is the EU enlargement of Ukraine, Moldova, and the Western Balkans. It's of course in the very interest of all of us to have all these countries on board, but at the same time we can see that that there are some attempts at the EU level to link it to the institutional reform of the Union, which from our point of view would only increase these balances that are already existing. So on which I elaborated at the beginning. If we even further strengthen these balances, we will lack any influence on the way the EU is evolving. And to me, the 3Cs could also be a platform here. Why don't we come up with, but it must be a positive agenda. It cannot be a negative agenda that we are always against that or this. We need to be able to generate some positive agenda and to promote this point of view. Why the Germany, they are trying to introduce the qualified majority voting in the common foreign and security policy and in taxation. So the two areas that are still where we still vote with unanimity and with which will only further decrease our influence, as I mentioned. Why don't we come up with an idea? Okay, guys. Okay, we want to enlarge, but maybe we will come back to the idea. I don't know how to translate it in English, but the idea of the system pierwiastkowy that was floated at the beginning of just when we were entering. And by the way, the Poles and Czechs were the only ones who were at least slightly interested in it. But then we were joining. We were not really in a position to put forward our ideas. Why don't we come back to this idea? Then we small and middle countries could be much more influential. And why that's not? There is no voice from the region. There was a famous speech at Sorbonne of Macron. Then there was another one of Scholz in Prague, by the way. And then the Prime Minister Morawiecki's speech in Heidelberg, but nothing. There was no follow-up to it. And why do not try to create a position of the region based on at least partially on the ideas that were floated in Heidelberg, and to propose something, to put something on the table? Because for the moment we only have the proposals of France and Germany. It's not a secret that these ideas are not really welcome by some of the Nordic countries, and not always other actors. Why do not we enter this game? Thank you. And risks, risk that we are not aware of the joint interests that exist, and that we lose this chance, and we will become part of the union in which we really do not have any power.
Thank you very much. And right now, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Katarzyna Obonkowska.
Okay, there are a lot of interests, but if I need to say something about three, so perhaps first one is reindustrialization for green transition. So we need to build new factories, but of course with the newest technologies for new working places in Poland and Czech. It will be very important cooperation. And next one is migration crisis. This is really huge and also risk, huge interest and risk. We should propose and work out some proposition for EU policy, migration policy, because now it is really big risk what will happen in the future, because what is happening in Europe now. And the last, I think, mutual stereotypes. In the first panel, you were talking a lot, the panelists were talking a lot about this. We can hear a lot, many times in Poland, that Czechs don't like Poles. No? That's not true. Okay, so I hope, because Poles like Czechs very much. From surveys, we know that Poles like Czechs, Americans, Italians, English, Slovaks, and Ukrainians. So if there are these stereotypes, we should work together to get to know each other, to understand each other, to respect each other. So I think the culture is very important in this topic. Perhaps we should more celebrate culture together. And what about risks? There's a lot of risks. I think that crises are huge risks, like economic crisis, war, migration, as I said, perhaps epidemic, because it could be in the future. So I think that there is the end of history, but we will be faced with a lot of risks in the future, and we need to build community prepared for these risks. So this is our task. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll talk about goals, what we should have in Central and Eastern Europe, because I help myself by a quote from the Czech unnamed politician, and he said very, I think, bright thing. Central and Eastern Europeans want three things. First, security. Security from Russian imperialism. Second thing is independence. That means that the Central and Eastern European states and their inhabitants will be on the same level in the EU, which is in those times it's not clearly not. And third is wealth. Wealth like their fellow citizens of Europe on the West, but without slavery past and immigration policy. That's all. I think this is the goals who we will achieve in the past, and many risks. Everything can happen. Situation in Ukraine can be worsened every day. Situation on the southern states like Italy and Spain is horrible right now. I know that from people who is dealing a situation in Lampedusa or Italy, in northern Italy. It's quite like a flooding or similar like that. And there are other problems and challenges, like the changes in the economic models, and especially in how we obtain the goods and how we distribute them. This is the all.
Thank you very much. So to sum up the part of the moderated questions, we should put a strong emphasis on the joint interests, because sometimes they are not clearly perceived as common interests in the whole region. So, for example, those clear interests are Russo-Ukrainian war and our common attitude to support the Ukraine, the cooperation with the USA, which is common in the region, and of course the positive attitude to the reconstruction of Ukraine, of course, seeing all those challenges will happen in next decades, because this is the period we can talk about the reconstruction of Ukraine decades. And of course the European Union enlargement, especially by Ukraine, Moldova, but also Western Balkans, even if the process will be very complicated, I think those are those common interests the whole region will be interested in. And of course, we should produce a positive agenda to influence the European Europe and to create a common voice in the region, which will be well heard in the Brussels. So we've got also some aims like reindustrialization, but of course in terms of the sustainable development. And what is important to sum up in those three most important needs for the Center Eastern Europeans. So it's a security, and we have a common interest in security to build capabilities to block the threat from the Russian Federation. And of course, the second is the independence. And in the terms of current changes of the European Union, we can see that, for example, the federalization process, if will go to the direction which will, let's say, try to dismantle the independence, the real independence of the countries, it can be a source of a conflict. And of course, the wealth, the good being in terms of developing our economies. And I guess in the 3Cs initiative, there is a need to strengthen the economic cooperation, but on the very level of entrepreneurships. So we need to communicate them our goals and to create them opportunities and circumstances for them to develop freely on the with the forces of free markets. And there are risks that are still impacting negatively our region. So no follow-up after important events, especially within the European Union. We do not have our common approach to the problem. We are still not aware of most important joint interests in the region. So we are losing our negotiation position. And of course, we've got some current challenges like the developing migration crisis, which can be boosted also by the Israeli-Palestinian conflict ongoing right now. And of course, the situation in many European countries in terms of the migration crisis is changing, for example, in Italy. So thank you very much for this part of the panel. And right now, I would like to open the session for questions from the audience. And I would like to ask to take the mic and distribute it via the audience, please.
One, two. So I'm super happy that Mr. Kasparek mentioned that we should work together to form some positive agenda on European policy. But what about the huge threat that there is in the air here? Because Poland is the only country on the east side of the EU that is bigger than the rest. I mean, when it comes to population. So there will be temptation. Because on the one hand, we can, of course, cooperate with our partners in the region to make a voice of smaller countries stronger in order to kind of contain Franco-German engine of the EU. But there is, and there will be in Poland, temptation to sit among the big guys, to be the bigger country, and to think of ourselves that we don't need these, smaller countries. We can sit with Germany, with France, and to shape European Union with the big guys. So, how to avoid this threat? How to can we have a better relations with Western Europe without trumping, without hurting relations with our regional French regional, without hurting regional cooperation?
Sure. Thanks a lot for this question. I will happily pick it up. So I would put it another way. It's an illusion to have any form of real influence by Poland in relations with France and Germany, without so just alone. It's just not possible. So the only way to be treated, so to speak, on more or less equal terms for Poland is to be the voice of the region. But I don't like the term leader. I would rather say Poland should be an honest broker. Poland should be someone who, by the sake of its size and capabilities, should be the spiritus movens and an honest broker, the one who try to get everyone together in the region and try to build these coalitions, and that's the only way forward. And I wouldn't be scared of any kind of an attempt by Poland to dominate partners. It's something that is very it's not present in the history of Polish political culture. If you take a deeper look at the Polish history, we have always existed in unions. And we have not been dominating parts. We're trying to accommodate, building joint organism, and that's the natural way of Poland to cooperate with other countries. Domination, to put it bluntly, is a tradition of Germany, of France, and the Western partners. And I think we see some effects of this tradition present in the European Union, which is not where positions are not always built and based on a consensus, whereas union, it's a natural habitat for Poland. So I would say that way. That's the only way forward, and it's just an illusion that there is any different way, and it should not be about Poland to feel treated well. It's a false goal. It's a false goal. We should be treated as a region together because we live together, and we need to create an organism where everyone feels well. And we know very well from our own history that creating a structure which was more or less similar to the existing European Union at the time, which is the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. If you have a part who does not feel owner of the organism, it falls apart. It rebels, and finally it destructs this political model and concept. And my fear is that there is no such awareness in some capitals in Europe, and they are extremely short-sighted. They do not see that for any given political organism to be long-lasting, you need to have ownership of all its parts, and you need to negotiate and need to create consensus. And I think we understand it very well in Poland and in the region, hopefully.
When I today heard about our military spending, I think there is some regional power is bringing up. So I think I speak for myself. I think this is completely fine for me as a Czech when democratic and independent Poland can be or will be the regional power. I'm completely fine with it. We had already few big neighbors who even wanted to rule the world, and we can handle it. So go for it.
Poland showed that we want to cooperate with Central European countries. We want to build community in the Central EU. And in our history, Poles always support other nations, and we never done things against in the terms of Central Europe. So I think there is no that we will do it in the future. The community is the most important, and we would like to be a voice of Central Europe.
So do we have another questions coming out mind? I guess we have.
Hello, thank you everyone. My name is Marcin Hruszczal, an old friend of the Institute of New Europe and currently director of the Office of Government Plenipotentiary for Polish-Ukrainian development cooperation. So that's why I would like to ask about Ukraine and the issue of the recovery of Ukraine. So first of all, I'm very curious, what is your opinion about how the Free Seas initiative as a platform can be used to somehow make a common approach of the Free Seas initiative states towards the recovery of Ukraine, and whether this issue has been present at the recent summit in Bucharest, because I know that some of you attended this summit. So was it somehow identified as a potential new challenge for the Free Seas initiative? Now already it's almost 4 Seas initiative, but yeah. And the second question is to Karel Sal about how the topic of Ukraine and war, but also the recovery, is present, visible in your public debate in the Czech Republic, in the political sphere. Do you discuss it, and this is still high in the agenda, or it's rather a second line topic in case of importance? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcin, for this question. As I mentioned, Ukraine's reconstruction was a hot topic at the Three Seas Business Summit, Business Forum, and the Three Seas Summit in Bucharest, which clearly shows the interest of the format and the countries involved in marking its footstep in the reconstruction. I would see the role of the Three Seas in the reconstruction threefold. First of all, as a platform where we can politically agitate to make our voice heard, be it in Brussels or elsewhere. As you know perfectly well, there is this G7 coordination platform which coordinates moves and whose secretariat is hosted by the European Commission, DG NEAR. And countries in our region, like us, like Lithuania and a few others, would like to join this platform to also be part of the consortium that coordinates moves in terms of Ukraine's reconstruction. And realistically speaking, it will be difficult for us to, one by one, to join this platform. But if we made it possible to nominate someone to present a common voice of the region, and put this joint input on the table, that could be an argument for us to be let in. So that's at the political level, I would say. Then secondly, when it comes to infrastructure, it's in our deep interest to integrate the Ukrainians' infrastructure networks with our, also in view of hopefully enlargement in the future. And we can already see a few positive examples. For example, the Ukraine has already decided to change the gauge of the railway tracks to the European standard, because so far they have been using the Russian broader gauge standard. Now all the new infrastructure that will be built in Ukraine will be built according to the European standard. Then the issue of interoperability of infrastructure networks comes in. Secondly, another point, we granted Ukraine the status of the so-called associated participating state at the Three Seas, which is it's a strong wording, because if you look at it, all the members are called participating states, and Ukraine is an associated participating state, which clearly indicates that there is an ambition and a will in the future to grant it full participating state status, but it can only happen when the Ukraine enters the EU, because that's the consensus within the Three Seas, that only EU member states can be full members. So that's and we already have the status, and we have to fill it with some concrete, with some tangible results. And this is why we, for example, when it comes to the list of priority projects, we submitted the project of railway connection between the CPK, the airport, which will be built to the Polish-Ukrainian border with possible extension to Lviv, as a concrete example of cooperation. Now the CPK has launched a feasibility study, but then there will be a need to construct it, and here we can that could be a project that links us. Third thing, also linked to the political sphere, is that, as you know far better than me, some external partners like Japan, like South Korea, like US, they see us as a hub for the reconstruction of Ukraine. For obvious reasons, they cannot place some investments, some open bureaus there because in Ukraine, because it's still a bit risky. So they are all interested in locating their offices, hubs, etc. in Poland to be able to reconstruct Ukraine. That's a big chance for our region, not only for Poland but also for perhaps Slovakia, Hungary to some extent, and other countries. We have some comparative advantages because of our geography. And thirdly, I would underline the business level, because when it comes to investment, clearly we do not have that many assets as the partners in the West. We are developing our assets. Hopefully, we'll be able to devote more financial resources for the reconstruction of Ukraine. But this is to be seen. But in any case, it won't match the scale of the financial support that can be provided by the Western partners. And this is why we need to find niches. And I think the cooperation between SMEs, the small and medium enterprises, can be something where we have some comparative advantages, and we already see it because you know, again, better than me, that the volume of the bilateral trade between Poland and Ukraine is growing very rapidly, and this is all thanks to the small and medium enterprises. It's exactly the same model as between Poland and Germany after the collapse of the Eastern Bloc. So it's exactly the same model, and no other country from the West can replicate that. So I think that's something that's a niche for us, because the big companies will mostly who will invest in Ukraine will come from the West, but there is a niche for us. And linked to that, I don't know if you noticed, but just 3 days ago in Brussels, the office of the 3Cs Business Development Association was opened. And the idea, it was announced in Bucharest, and now we have an office that was proposed by Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Estonia, and Lithuania. So there's 5 countries, but hopefully more 3Cs members to join, and with the goal to promote jointly our business interests in the EU. And as I mentioned, I've just come back from Brussels. And of course, there are some pan-European business associations, but surprise, surprise, they are dominated by France, Germany, and a few Western countries. And there is a glass ceiling. You cannot change that easily. And I'm very happy personally that we have such an association that can grow, that can gather also Ukrainian representatives for us to be able to promote our business interests in Brussels jointly.
So this is a kind of trade office of the 3Cs initiative participating states in Brussels?
It's not a trade office. It's a business association joint office. Like for the part of Poland, Poland is represented by the FPPs. It's Federacja Przedsiębiorców Polskich. Okay. But more members can join. It's more members than one from each member state. So it's rather open, and given that Ukraine is an associated partner, I could imagine that they could also, if they have any business association in Brussels also interested to open an office in Brussels, they can join it and create some a broader space. But it's to be seen. It has just been opened, so we also need some time to figure out more details. Thank you.
It's a very good news, because I remember last year when we had a conference on the 3Cs initiative, also in the Institute of New Europe. I remember this claim and this argument that such an office should be open in Brussels.
So you are the founding father.
We don't know if it was originally by us, but I remember we were promoting this issue very much. So it's very happy now to hear that it already happened. Okay, thank you.
And about the reconstruction of Ukraine in Czech Republic as a topic, this topic is now covered by events in Israel and Gaza a little bit. Everybody is looking for today's intifada across Europe, so everybody is looking somewhere else. But in long term, the topics of reconstruction in Ukraine is pretty high. I saw surveys that the support of Ukraine is slightly decreasing, but not big deal, because Czechs know that after Ukrainians will be the next meal for Kremlin. So because the voyage of Petr Fiala with Polish Prime Minister and Slovenian Prime Minister to Kiev was for Fiala himself quite a political stand-up, yeah? And he needs, and whole government needs to use that this victory, almost political victory, to promote the reconstruction of Ukraine. Reconstruction of Ukraine is mentioned in new governmental proposals, like the way how to change Ukraine before its accession to EU. So Czech government now is looking for the opportunities in Ukraine, and especially I have information that especially in area of heavy machinery and heavy industry. And this is all what I know about this thing on Ukraine.
Okay, so maybe a few words, because our common interest is peace in Ukrainian, because this war is very bad for this nation and for whole Europe. Ukrainians need a lot of reforms, and we need support them in it. And then in reconstruction, the reconstruction of Europe is very important for European enterprises, European governments and societies. And this is our common future, but there's a lot of work with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We still have time for questions, if there are some in the audience. There is a question. Please continue.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Maximilian Semeniuk. I'm quite new member to the Institute of New Europe, and my area of interest is ways of how to deal with some energy problems in our region. I strongly believe that one of the way to fulfill both those three goals, common goals to our region, and the way to entitle our bilateral or even multilateral cooperation in the region is to strengthen this cooperation in the matter of energetic sources, and I mean here especially those connected to the nuclear plants. I want to ask both the delegates from Czech Republic and our Polish government if there were, I don't mean here the matter of strictly knowledge sharing and how to deal with management problems and so on, but were there ideas, maybe more advanced than only theoretical, how to strengthen our regional position when it comes to the negotiations with foreign companies, I mean here French, American and so on, to create an maybe joint venture to further develop our region when it comes to this source of energy.
In any energetic policy, most important is a plan. The governmental plan to do something. For Poland, nuclear plants are very important. So contemporary government does a lot to build nuclear power plants in Poland, and to talk with companies from US, from France, to build it. So in these huge projects, the biggest projects nowadays, I think the most important is good government, who talk with big companies, with the other governments also, because this is there should be agreement between governments. The most important is, I said the third time, government and good plan. Thank you.
I'll be quick. I think must be done three things: more interconnections between EU states, less Russian gas and other materials, and complete the energy union within EU. That's all, I think.
I'm not quite sure if I got your question right, but just from my point of view, I was not part of the negotiations with neither the Americans nor the French, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was not in the lead here on behalf of Poland. I'm not sure, but I would assume it must have been the Ministry for Climate and the Chancellery of the Prime Minister. So I don't know the details, but as we all know, we just recently signed an agreement finally, I think, with the Westinghouse. So it's on the right track. The nuclear program has accelerated, and I think we have a more viable plan for when it comes to the date of the first nuclear power plant in Poland. And as I mentioned, there is a consensus on the Polish political scene, so I think we can be relatively relaxed about it. When it comes to the three Cs, we are very much in favor of promoting cooperation on nuclear. Even at the business forum in Bucharest, there was a dedicated panel dedicated to the nuclear energy, and also to the small modular reactors, the so-called SMRs. And I don't know if you also noticed, but the US at the summit and the business forum was represented by John Kerry, the plenipotentiary for climate change or something like that. And he announced the financial support of the US to the development of SMRs in Poland, Czechia, and Slovakia, and also an opening of an office focusing on SMRs at the university in Bucharest, University of Technical University in Bucharest, and the US under the Phoenix project, and they will finance a feasibility study of for transforming some coal mines and into in the direction of SMRs. In Poland, it would be the Ostrołęka power plant, and then in cooperation with Orlen Synthos, there is a dedicated Orlen sub-entity who is in charge of the nuclear energy and SMR. So that's it. But the majority of the countries in the region are pro nuclear energy, with some exceptions. So it's a topic that we very often discuss in the 3Cs. Thank you.
So thank you. If I am not mistaken, you wanted both representatives of Czech side to answer. So you've got both also, because Mr. Karel Sell, Mr. Vít Dostál, and Mr. Jan Lupomeski are available. But I guess we can continue in the networking part. because right now I would like to end the discussion of the second panel concerning the regional cooperation of Czechia and Poland and multilateral relations in the region. And I would like to thank our panelists for such an interesting and reflecting discussion about the issue. So please award our panelists with clapping your hands. Thank you very much. So right now I would like to sum up the conference, and as well I would like to give some thanks for all people engaged in this project. So in the beginning I would like to thank our panelists, because without you this conference would not be possible to organize. So from the first panel, I would like to thank to Mr. Artur Bartoszewicz, to Mr. Wit Dostal, and to Mr. Jan Pomeski. Thank you very much for your attendance. And of course, second time, but we know that the repeating on ourselves is very beneficial here, so I would like to thank panelists of the second part, so Ms. Katarzyna Obłonkowska, Mr. Karl Sal, and Mr. Marcin Kacperek. Also, I would like to thank the whole team of the Institute of New Europe, which was working on this project and is still working, because, as I've mentioned, we've completed the part of the podcast. We've done a report which will be sent to you as the present people taking part in this conference at first, and then we will send it to the wider audience. And also this conference is a part of a project. So once again, I would like to also thank to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because today's conference is a part of the project Intensifying Polish-Czech Cooperation on the Foreign Policy of Both Countries in 2023, and the project aims to create a substantive basis for intensifying Polish-Czech cooperation in the field of foreign policy priorities of both countries. And this public task was financed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland within the grant competition Polish-Czech Forum 2023. So I would like to also thank the audience to be here, and of course the online audience too. Sorry you are not here with us, but I hope in the next conference that will be referring to the 3Cs initiative in the next month, we will see each other in person here. And I, of course, would like to also thank our special guests, so the representative of the Embassy of Czech Republic and the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you to be with us here. And it was a great honor and really a pleasure to launch this conference. And once again, thank you very much for your attention. And I hope after the project we will continue with the next one concerning the Polish-Czech relations in the, I think, in the wider part of our partners. And I would like to also thank the Institute of Politics and Society from Czech Republic for supporting us in this project as a main partner, and also AMO from Czech Republic. Thank you very much for cooperation. So let's sum up. We have a lot to do to strengthen the Polish-Czech relations, but right now there's a window opportunity to use the very good relations we have right now to develop both the bilateral cooperation as well as the cooperation, political cooperation within the Visegrad Group, and as well in the 3Cs initiative. Thank you very much, and I hope we will see all each other in the next Institute of New Europe's conference. To use the floor and also to invite you to the networking and lunch break, which will last till 3 a.m. Everything's right? Fine? So thank you very much.